Gonna hold the pose for our.
Booker the drive, gets inside, leads in, knocked away and stolen by Holiday. Phoenix has the foul, and a foul, throws it down, and a foul. Working against Butler, got downhill, couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here. Out of mile, sky high with the block and rejection. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. To Caldwell Pope inside, he's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top, James puts up the three. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown as the shot clock expires.
Gets it into Durant. Here is Durant moving on Tucker. He turns, he shoots.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deep Takes from 3 presented by the Athletes Hub. My name is Gary Sunnyberger and joined, as always, the RJ Barrett of this podcast, Isaiah Hansen. How you doing today, buddy? How's it going? It's been a bit.
I'm doing, it's been a bit, but it's not about me. I'm doing fine. But we have Gary back. It's been a while. We're so glad to have you. TMZ's been in my face with the cameras. Have you heard from Gary? Where's he at? I said, look, he wants to make sure that he's 100%. He doesn't want to give anybody anything less. And here you are. Welcome back.
I had to call them and have them remove that clip of you yelling at the paparazzi at 4 a.m. coming at your apartment.
That was a PR disaster. That was terrible.
It was a PR disaster. We got that handled, though. We got a lot to talk about today. We haven't been live with the two of us. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna jump right into it. We're missing our guy Dev today. He'll be back, no worries. Anchor holding this podcast down. We've got him doing all the social stuff over at theathleteshub.com. Check us out. We had a bunch of articles drop last couple of days. We're going crazy with new baseball stuff. We got basketball content coming soon. Football's going crazy right now. Just go over to the website, check it out. But today we got basketball to talk about, and I think, as a fan of the Miami Heat, I have been sitting up here for God knows how long, just kind of waiting for something to happen. Of course, they were the 1 seed. We're the 2nd seed now after this recent losing spell. But it's been a little bit of a struggle as a Heat fan as of late. Lost 4 straight recently, had one of the worst weekends in Miami Heat history, at least recent history in my eyes. Of course, we had that terrible couple of seasons with Dion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside. But I mean, like, when we're as a competitive team, like I said, lost 4 straight. They're 4 in their last 6, and that all culminated publicly with a fight on the bench with Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra, where Eric Spoelstra and him definitely did not agree on something that was going on, and that caused a bit of I don't want to say a fight, because that sounds a little bit too harsh of a word to use in this, environment where people are going up on stage and slapping Chris Rock in the face. The Heat had a little bit of a struggle as of late. They're 6-7 in March. What do you look from the outside perspective as somebody who's been watching this team all year? I see them as just going through a little bit of a rough patch, but what are your opinions on the Heat as of late?
Look, I would love to say, look, this is just like my Knicks. And that's what came to mind at first. And I'm always going to bring up the Knicks somehow, right? That's just what I do.
Oh, yeah. At this point, I mean, I call you are the RJ Barrett of this podcast.
Thank you. So, when with the whole Julius Randle implosion, you see a lot of these little ripple effects, when it comes to the Knicks, but they're just not a good team. They're just not a good team. Mm-hmm. The way I see it with Miami, is what I would wanted it to have been for the Knicks. That moment right there is the frustration boils over, kind of like the Yankees a couple years ago when Aaron Boone went up to the Empire. He said, my guys are savages in them box. They were struggling up to that point. And then the Yankees went on a little run, and they had a really good, they started doing well. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Miami. Butler is this is who he is. He's a hard-nosed player. I see a lot of people talking about he's a cancer in the locker room. No. When you're going through struggles like this, sometimes you need a guy like that that's fiery and that's going to like hold everybody, including himself, accountable. There's been so many press conferences that I watched with Jimmy Butler. He's, if they're losing, he said, I played trash. He's not going to dance around it. He takes full accountability. So, and then I think Spoelstra, I don't know if it was a fake quote or not. I didn't see it. But, you saw him joke around like, well, we were talking about what we wanted for dinner or something of those sort. I don't know if that was fake or not.
You might have got by Ballsack Sports on that one.
Maybe. But nevertheless, I do believe that, like, that's how they would handle it. Like, if you asked him, things boiled over. But the Miami Heat has a really good team. One thing that Miami Heat has over maybe, I got to think about it, maybe any other team in the East, they have a nice safety net to fall back on. Like if Butler's struggling, you have Hero, you have Oladipo who could, he's obviously been on and off injury-wise. I think he still has something to bring. And then, the Miami Heat are in a good spot right now. I wouldn't worry at all if I were you. I think if anything, this is going to help them in the long run.
Well, I appreciate the thoughts of comforting me in that regard, because I do agree. Caron Butler in that video that I believe it was posted on, I can't even remember. It was some director. It was like somebody, Judd Apatow. I don't remember. Somebody on the bench of the Miami Heat posted the video online of the altercation in quotes, and Caron Butler just basically looked like, yeah, this is just something that happens in the locker room all the time. And you got to remember, these guys, the Miami Heat culture, this is kind of what they do in a sense. They're not, afraid to voice their opinion. They're not afraid to keep something in, because at the same time, that is what brings those differences and difficulties into a locker room, is when you hold something in and don't say something about it. This is probably just something that boiled over from the locker room onto the court. I wouldn't be surprised if 29 other NBA teams have this sort of conversation at least once or twice a year, probably more for certain teams. But I think, it was just probably something that boiled over from the locker room. But that being said, the Heat, although they might be having personal struggles, like, relationship wise or team wise, the struggles that I'm seeing on the court kind of overshadow what they've been going through off the court with this whole fighting within the coach and the players, because right now they're 22nd in offense and 16th in net rating, which is, for the 2 seed in the East, not good. And that's in March. Sorry, to correct myself. That's 22nd in offense this March. They're bottom 6 in turnovers. They are turning the ball over at a crazy rate. And a team this year that was focused on going out and running the court, kind of getting in transition, doing all they could to push the ball up as much as possible. They're 22nd in pace this month. I don't know if that's the not having Kyle Lowry for a lot of the games. I don't know if that's just because of the shooting struggles, or Jimmy not being able to score, or Bam just deciding not to shoot whatsoever, which is baffling to me considering how talented he is. Tyler Hero's the only person I can trust to make a shot right now. And I mean, personally, with this struggle, I don't believe in this Heat team as much as I did about 2 months ago. And that's basically because of when this team isn't on fire, it gets ugly. It gets ugly really quick. And if this team can't score, their defense is only going to be good enough to basically take them so far. If you can't score against these teams in the East that are putting up almost 120 points a game, and you can't score on the opportunities that you have, and you keep turning the ball over, I don't see how this Heat team makes it past even the second round with this current struggle continuing. But all right. Oh, good. Oh, Isaiah, are you okay? Because I just went on for 10 minutes about my Heat, and that's the first time I've done it this season. I feel like relieved.
No,
Dude, does it feel good to finally be sitting in your spot for now, or my spot the last couple of months?
I mean, you're just joining the club. Remember that little rant that went on about the Knicks and the trade deadline? You know, at the end, I came out a better person.
That's good. That's good.
So, you know, and look, let me just tell you, the way you're talking sounds a lot like my Yankees have been for the past 10 years. Like when we're really good, we're hot, unbeatable. But when we get those moments, it's all about catching fire at the right moment, catching heat at the right moment. So it could have, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not my favorites for a reason, but they could make some noise. They just got to, like you said, all you need is maybe 1 game, 2 games, like really nice wins, maybe a big game from somebody, like maybe Oladipo, you know, comes out and scores 30, and then it just, the Heat are in a good spot, man. You know, not championship spot, but they're in a good spot.
I appreciate your positivity, Isaiah. It's what we need around here on this podcast. We got a lot of negativity rolling around here, brewing in the pot with with the 3 teams that we've got going on here. And to keep up with the positivity, in a way, some of these awards aren't very positive. Me and Isaiah came up with a bunch of NBA season awards. And now you're thinking to yourself, are we going to give out Defensive Player of the Year and Coach of the Year and Rookie of the Year? Not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. We are going to give out some joke awards, some fun awards that I came up with, and Isaiah and me kind of like brainstormed on our answers. We've got a bunch of guys that we want to shout out this year. I've got 10 of them. I don't know if you came up with any more that I haven't looked at yet, but we got these 10 NBA season awards. Roll the Grammy music and like Oscar music too, because the Oscars just happened.
Hang on a second. I might have something for you.
Do you have something? Can we do like the Oscar music? Let's do it. Let's see. MC Isaiah, what's he got up here?
No.
I like it. Just keep it.
Let's roll with it. Let's
roll with it. All right, guys. We've got the NBA season joke awards. For our first award, we've got the Not So Fast Comeback Player of the Year. When I was coming up with this award, I kind of thought to myself, what is a guy who needed to prove himself a little bit more in this league? Maybe was a good veteran for a while, but then had a moment of like, oh no, is he going to fall out? Is he not going to play anymore? Maybe because of injuries. But for this award, I'm giving my nominee, DeMarcus Cousins, the spotlight. He's 31 years old, and after a couple of ACL injuries, some doubt among the league, some 10-day contracts with the Milwaukee Bucks, and I believe he was signed for a little bit longer than that, or maybe it was a couple of 10 days. DeMarcus Cousins has brought back his flair on the Nuggets bench. He's playing backup center minutes. He even started a game this year, and in that game, he had 31 points. Yeah. Other than that, are the stats like, eye-popping? No. He's not shooting great, but he's still a really good, talented player on the floor, and he knows how to play his role, which is important for a lot of these older stars that are coming into the league again and having to fill those minutes. Think of like a Carmelo Anthony or a JaVale McGee, in a way that guys that have been in the league for a long time and know that, okay, maybe it's not my time to shine anymore. Not that JaVale McGee was over here like an NBA superstar, but Dwight Howard is probably a better example of someone who took a long time for him to get into rhythm as what he should be in this league. Like I said earlier, Boogie's still not putting up the best numbers. He's still got a turnover problem, and he might have too high of a usage, but it's no doubt that DeMarcus Cousins has done well this season and in this and could still do well in this league. He's averaging 9.6 rebounds. He can offensive rebound like crazy. Isaiah, what do you got for this award?
I mean, that's a really good one. Like, I think Cousins maybe has been more like as a micro player. Like, there's moments he's going to give you where he's going to provide, right? Mm-hmm. But I saw it from a different lens. I went with a guy who I thought was maybe done, or if not done, at least definitely on the wrong side of his career. I don't think I shared this one with you. I got Al Horford.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, Al Horford. He was with the Thunder last year, right? Injured. I think he played 29 games maybe last year. It was starting to look like it's the end. Even before that, he wasn't really putting up the greatest numbers. And now here he is. He has played 64 games this year, 29 minutes a game, started a majority of them. He's averaging 10 and 8 and 3 assists a game. And we're talking about on the Boston Celtics, which are the &1 seed right now. And I think
don't remind me.
yeah. I mean, I'm a New York guy, so this sucks for me to say, but
we're both over here. This is, and then Dev is a Lakers fan. This is an anti-Celtics podcast.
Yes. So Celtics slander is here, but you got to give credit where it's due. I mean, he's a really important part of that team right now. You know, you need a big guy like that. He stretches the floor. He is that second option if Brown is out, which, you know, there's been times throughout the season, you know, where he has been and he's been on and off. So Horford, you know, he's not only is he still playing, but he's a fixture on a team again and on the Celtics again. So Horford gets that award from me.
I love the pick. Al Horford's done a lot this year for the Celtics. He's kind of rotting away in the OKC the last year or two after his kind of terrible contract problem with the 76ers, got traded to the Thunder. Now he's back with the Celtics, and I love the pick there, Isaiah. We're going to go to our next award. I call this one I wouldn't want to fight these guys award, and I will personally be giving out my award to Isaiah Stewart. We talked about it during the sorry.
I thought you were gonna say my name there. I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't.
I'm gonna give it to you, brother. I'm gonna give it to you. I wouldn't want to fight you, my guy. I've seen you up in the gym. I mean, come on, man. I've seen you. You could beat me. Don't worry. But I'm giving this one to Isaiah Stewart after his little bit of a fight with LeBron James. I say fight in quotes again. No fights ever really actually happen in the NBA. This isn't hockey. But you're muted right now, my guy. I will let you know that.
I had flashbacks of Ron Artest and
listen, man. I mean, we could talk about Ron Artest a little bit after what happened last night. But it turned into like television, watching it and being like everyone thinking to themselves, "This is terrible." I'm always the type of guy. I love watching professional millionaires punch each other on the court. I don't know if that makes it bad for business or the NBA doesn't like it, but personally, as a fan, there's that great Bill Burr skit where he talks about how he loved the Ron Artest fight, how it brought like a level of excitement into basketball, and how like, you never know in the middle of the game when someone could just run up in the stands and sucker punch someone in the face.
Come on, we love
fantastic. It's terrible for ratings, but for me, it's great entertainment. I'm always voting for the craziness. I love the psychopathy. And so Isaiah Stewart getting elbowed in the face by LeBron and then going on a tear, running through all of his players. Nobody on that team should ever get hired as a bodyguard. But Isaiah Stewart, I'm giving I wouldn't want to please get bored. 6'8", 250. That's scary. I'm a pass. Who do you got for this one, Isaiah?
You know, I was tempted. Like, there was a couple names. Of course, there's the Jokic brothers. I think you mentioned them at some point. But I'm not going to go that route. There's also this Eric Spoelstra, man. You know, he's one of those guys. Tibbs, you know, shout out to Tibbs. I think there's moments where like he looks like he'll burn your house down. And then there's Popovich, another guy you don't want to mess with, right? Slapping everybody in the back.
Quinn Snyder's got that stare. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. Quinn Snyder looking at his players on the bench. He's gonna kill everybody in Utah.
Yeah. So my pick is not probably not a fun pick, but I think it's an obvious pick. Like, Steven Adams is not a guy I would want to get on the wrong side of. Like, you talk about a dude, like you saw him. Who was it that got in John Morant's face, and he just picks him up and you know.
Oh yeah, I gotta hold on. I'll look up who that was.
That's like, you know, sits him down. Like, hey, come on, guy, you're not gonna do anything here. So. Yeah, Steven Adams reminds me of like a Walmart Charles Oakley. Like, he's just like that guy. Like,
it was Tony Bradley. He picked up Tony Bradley.
Tony Bradley. That's not a small guy. So,
no, Tony Bradley is not a small human being. That is a very large man.
Yes. so we'll give. I'm gonna give Steven Adams that guy. He's been that guy for a while, I think. So.
Steven Adams, unequivocally, undoubtedly the strongest person in the NBA. I love that you said Eric Spoelstra. I had written that down just as what are we gonna do? Fight? Like, I love that little moment from him against talking to Jimmy Butler. Yeah, no, you're completely right. I would not want to fight Steven Adams after picking up Tony Bradley and just the screens he sets. I mean, you could even watching him set a screen is like watching a construction worker put up a brick wall really quickly. It's all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I can't. It's an immovable object. And I'm sorry, but there's no unstoppable force in the NBA getting through that.
No.
Speaking of some unstoppable players, and I say that as a joke, I'm going for this next award, the Oscar for Best Actor. And I say unstoppable because I think we've been trying to get this player to stop doing this for years. This man is a certified flopper. And as much as I love watching him play basketball because of how just of a aggressive player he is, Patrick Beverley is who I'm nominating for this award. As far as him going on a rant talking about how he should win Defensive Player of the Year, which is silly, but at the same time, I gotta credit the personality and just the confidence that you have to have as a 6'1" point guard to be like, no, I'm gonna be Defensive Player of the Year. It's not really true. As much as of a good defensive player he is, one of the best things actors are known for is their press tours where they hype up the movie. And I think Patrick Beverley's doing a great job at that one right there. And then this is a clip that I believe it was on Quentin Richardson's podcast. He always asks every player, and excuse my language, but he always asks every player, who's the first guy in the league to bust yo ass? He says it every guy, every NBA player in the league that comes on the podcast. Patrick Beverley went out and said, no one. I've never happened. No one's ever busted my ass. No one ever. And then there's a great clip on YouTube. You should go look it up. They take a clip of that podcast of Patrick Beverley saying no one ever got him, and they just highlight it with probably 13 straight plays of Isaiah Thomas on the Celtics, just giving Patrick Beverley the business. I'm talking like dropping like 30, 40 points that night. So my award for Best Actor, the Oscar for Best Actor, goes to Patrick Beverley for basically being not only the biggest flopper in the league, but also, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in his own head. And that's a good press run. Give it to Patrick Beverley. What about you, Isaiah? And also, hello to the people in the chat.
Yes, we got Carter Anderson and
What's up, Carter? What's up, Cobb? How's it going?
What's up, guys? So you came perfect time. This is the Oscars 2.0. This is what we're doing. We're not going to go slap anybody. We're not going to slap anybody, but we got a knee slappers for the rest of the. Anyway, that sucked. Okay, so
no, I liked it. No, confidence. Go with the joke. You have to run with it. We got some knee slappers. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So this guy has been the best actor in the league for quite a long time. I know a lot of people would like to give LeBron, but I think he just won an award for like the worst actor. So
yeah, the Razzie. Yeah, Razzies are an award they give out every year to the worst films, exactly. And he won that for Space Jam.
Disqualified, can't give it to him. But James Harden, man, he's probably built a career off of acting, but and even fancy foot. They have to change the rules for him this year. With the whole the hook of the elbow, and Kevin Durant's pretty good at that too. But James Harden, without that, isn't quite superhuman like he was before. Still better than 98% of the league, 97% of the league, but he's not human anymore. You see him struggling a lot. And I got more for James Harden later on, but
okay.
Yes.
All right. Best actor from Isaiah goes to James Harden. And we're going to move right on to the next award, which I have titled, quote, "What did you eat for breakfast? Raw eggs? ? And to me, when I wrote that down, I gave these lists to Isaiah kind of without telling him what the award actually meant. I wanted him to do his own thing with the awards because I wanted to see what his creative little brain would come out. It's little brain. Oh, that's so mean. I apologize. Your creative massive brain would come up with. So for the "What did you eat for breakfast? Raw eggs ? Award, I'm giving mine to Desmond Bane for the sole reason that every time me and my roommate Nick, who I've probably said a couple of times on the pod here, every time me and him play 2K or we talk about basketball, we always mention the Grizzlies and just how absolutely jacked Desmond Bane looks on a regular basis. And I believe even LeBron James said something about it this year when they played the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane definitely eats his Wheaties every day. And I also wanted to bring this up to talk about just how good of a season he's having. He's averaging 18 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists on a top seed in the West. He's broken in my head into a top 10 shooting guard in the league discussion. And Desmond Bane just absolutely killing it this year. I love the way he plays and just his potential on offense, which is another way that you could kind of take this award. Just the absolute potential. He is a raw egg. He has yet to hatch, and still he's kicking butt all throughout the league. Sharpshooter, and still with people thinking that that's all he can do, he can still take it to the basket, drive a little bit, hit the little mid-range, do some stuff around the basket, and he also plays pretty good defense too. So my what did you eat for breakfast raw eggs award goes to Desmond Bane. How about you, my man?
So yeah, like you said, I had to really think about this one. And I wanted to go Steven Adams, but I already got him for the tough guy. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I was tempted to go maybe Evan Mobley, because we talk about raw talent. I think he has a lot to unpack there. But I'm gonna go based off just a chiseled brick house. And we got to go to Miami again. We're going to your boy Bam Adebayo. That dude,
okay, I like this.
That dude is a truck of a
he's big.
Yeah, I think his career probably is built off being just a truck. Like you don't really want him to post you up. You don't want to defend him, and you don't want him coming after you down the court. So I think there still is some level of untapped potential because he is an elite big, but I think there's a little bit more. Another name I want to throw in here. Mitchell Robinson is another guy. We got to throw into that discussion as well. Another raw talent, not raw egg, a lot of improvement, and also just a chiseled brick house. But I'm going with your boy Bam Adebayo.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate the Miami Heat love this side of Florida. I will say, when it comes to people that look absolutely massive, there's a great NFL combine lingo called, and basically it's when a player looks really big but they don't play very big, and that's called looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. And that essentially means, to me, Bam Adebayo is one of those dudes who looks so physically imposing, and then you watch him play on the court and you're like, man, this guy does not know how big he is.
No, exactly.
The amount of times I'm just like, Bam, run at him, dunk on his face. The guy's 6'8", you can do it. And he just, little hook shot. It goes in, but he looks massive. And I love that pick for this award. Awesome. Bam Adebayo getting some credit in these awards right here. All right. You want to move on to the next one? You want to start this out? We've done this is our number. This is our fifth. Yeah. So I'll do this one. And then after this, I'll get you as the first one, giving out our awards. We're going to go with the, When I Was Your Age Old Man Award. This is a player who, despite their age, has shown how absolutely insane they are this year. And I have a winner, of course, but I also have a guy that I want to give a little credit to, bringing it back to my Miami Heat. I'll just mention him real quick. Udonis Haslem. He actually had to play this year. And in the 4 games that he actually got court time for, he had 18 points, 12 rebounds on 7 of 14 shooting. I mean, this is over 4 games. Yeah. It's not like he's doing this per night. But for a 40-year-old dude to get out there after basically playing 1 game a season for 3 years, it's pretty cool to watch him. But the winner of this award, obviously, for me, will go to King Lebron James. He leads the league in points per game, which for a 37-year-old player is absurd. He's the first person in NBA history to have 27,000 points, 7,000 rebounds, and 7,000 assists. Also, he's the first person in NBA history to have 37,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists. He recently passed Karl Malone for second all-time in scoring, and it looks like within the next year, he's also going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And as much as the Lakers have sucked this year and their record isn't great, and Frank Vogel probably won't be a coach next season, LeBron James has done everything he could in terms of scoring the basketball this year to lead his team. Whether or not you think that he's doing a good enough job is your opinion, but you cannot deny this guy at 37 years old is doing things that are unprecedented, at least since Kareem.
Yeah.
What about you, Isaiah? What you thinking for this award? I got LeBron.
I just got to take a moment to give LeBron just some flowers too. Like, you talk about him leading the league in scoring. This is like a lesser version of LeBron James at that. Like his, I mean, he can't quite carry his team like he once did, like in terms of wins. But this is a lesser LeBron James leading the league in scoring. So it's kind of comical. But yeah, the dude probably still got 3 more years left in him, the way he looks.
And is he going to be like a Tom Brady kind of guy where, you know, you look back and you think, well, Tom retired and he came back after 2 months. You know, he spent some time with his kids and went, yeah, screw that. I'm going to go play some football. Yeah. But is this a guy like LeBron who we might see retire when he's still really good? I mean, LeBron is no doubt a top 10 player in the NBA, no matter which way you want to look at it. Yeah. Are we going to see him retire while still being able to put up these kind of numbers? Crazy to think that that's even possible.
Yeah. Maybe not these kind of numbers, but like he has such a long way to fall. Like
you're right. The staircase is very high.
Yeah, so like he could go, and one thing is like that passing ability is never going to go away. Like he's starting to pick up a little bit with the shooting on the outside, a little bit in the mid-range. He's never going to be great from there, I don't think, but enough to put up numbers, and you combine it with the passing ability. And at the end of the day, he's still a 6'10" train. So like, yeah, he has a long way to fall before, like, you know, it's just a matter of when he wants to go. I think that's all it is.
It's true.
So, but my guy, I'm going to reach a little bit. I got the, you know, reaching my arm out.
There's no reach. This is our award show. You can, you could have told me that your pick is Josh Smith, and I'd have been like, he didn't play this year or last 5 years, and you've been like, it's Josh Smith. This is your show too, buddy. You can pick whoever you want.
Yes. So I am going with Carmelo Anthony. Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. Isaiah might have dropped from the stream a little bit here, but he went with Carmelo. Let's see. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm just going to give a little Carmelo career retrospective here right off the dome. Come on, Carmelo. Oh, you back? You back?
Oh, God,
I can hear you again.
Yeah.
No, you're good, brother. Go for it.
All right, but Carmelo Anthony, you understand? We're talking about a guy that was really written off. He was ousted from the league, you know, with the, like, traded to the Bulls only for them to drop him after years prior, like, you know, where he could have been a part of that team. He decided to stick with the Knicks because he loves me. So, you know, but Carmelo Anthony, man, he like, you talk about a guy that maybe like they were worried if he could adjust to being just kind of another guy on the bench. I mean, he's a little bit more than that. He's not the 6th man, not the 7th man, maybe not even the 8th man, but he could go in there. He could put up numbers when you need him to. Once in a while, like he can make a big 3 late in the game if you need him to. He just had 27 points the other game. I think it was LeBron was out, and you know, Melo is reliable right now, and he could. Not quite like LeBron James, you know, like where his skills will fall off maybe another year, maybe 2 years at the max, but you got to give Melo his props. He's been in the league as long as LeBron James, and not everybody is LeBron James. So he has to still be doing what he's doing. Of course, shout out to Chris Paul, but I feel like that was just an obvious answer as well.
Yeah, and Chris Paul is a pretty good answer too. You mentioned it's a little obvious, and of course LeBron was obvious too. But I felt like it was weird not to mention just how absurd he's been. And you know what? Let's bring it up. Chris Paul hasn't played since the All-Star break due to an injury on his hand, which for some reason he still played in the All-Star game, which was wild to see. Even though he was on the injured reserve list, he's still putting a uniform on and getting out there. But, you know, whatever. It's Chris Paul. He can do what he wants. The Suns are absurd. Yeah, they're 61-14 or something crazy like that. You got to give it to Chris Paul, too. Just as like a, you know, give him his due respect. All right. Yes. We just talked about old guys. We talked about the oldest players in the league. And I want to switch it up with you right here, Isaiah. I've got this award next titled the Frat Party Freshman. And I'll let you figure out what that means for yourself. But for me, I looked at it as just a bunch of young dudes, young scrappy guys who I could see making some headway here in the league, but probably are a little young. What do you got for your Frat Party Freshman Award, Isaiah? What do you got?
I wanted to find somehow to say the Knicks, but I can't. I'm going to go. Because the Knicks have a little core there. You know, you got Quentin Grimes quickly. But okay, anyway, no, moving on. The Cleveland Cavaliers, okay? I had to think about it. with the Cleveland Cavaliers, not only are they young, but they're good. And Darius Garland, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was sleeping on him a little bit, like early on in the season. I mean, I saw the numbers, but I'm like, okay, but Colin Sexton's not there, so of course you're bound to have more opportunities. But no, they're winning games and they're like in playoff contention. Will they be beyond the first round team? Probably not. But Darius Garland's in there. He's orchestrating the team like he's been in the league for 10 years. You see him throwing lobs like it's Lob City, like he's Chris Paul out there. So, with Garrett Allen, and you got Evan Mobley in there. You got Colin Sexton coming back. These are all young, quality players. And then there's Kevin Love.
Kevin Love's the sixth man of the year candidate. Don't throw shade on my man.
Let me be respectful. I mean, Kevin Love is actually, this team is kind of perfect for him. This is like they built it around him, in a sense, whether they meant to or not. And he's thriving. He's playing. He's healthy. The Cavaliers are something. I mean, I don't know. Like, where do you go from here? Like, who do you add? Because Darius Garland really has that ball. I don't know. But long story short, they're fun to watch. They're a playoff team, and they're relevant after losing LeBron James. You got to give them credit.
I think you make a great point when it comes to Darius Garland playing like a veteran and this team being surprisingly good. And I love the question that you posed, which was, what do they do next? And I really think it might just be wait, because their players are only going to get better. They're only going to get more young guys. And then eventually someone who's pretty decent in the NBA is going to want to come and play with those dudes. Was listening to a podcast earlier this week with Jackie McMullen, super famous, super respected reporter around the NBA for the Celtics in the 80s and 90s. But she had mentioned she's doing this podcast series recently where she goes through and she talks to the icons of the game. And one of the persons she interviewed was Steph Curry. And she had mentioned that after a game, Warriors-Cavaliers, Steph Curry asked Darius Garland, if you ever need anything, if you ever want my help, ever want some advice, here's my number. And what did Darius Garland do? He called Steph Curry, and they are in communication now. And this is a thing that you see with players and teams that are great, is that they understand their point in the NBA when it comes to legacy and continuing the brand of basketball. And if Steph Curry is looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers and saying, man, this Darius Garland guy's great, that's a great look for that team and a great sense of where they could go in the future with how good they are and with especially how young they are. So that's a great pick, Isaiah. I got to give you a little clap for that one. I haven't, you didn't tell me about that one before we went.
No. I didn't know. It just came to me.
Oh, well, hey, there you go.
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Sometimes the best awards are done last minute. But for this award, I could easily go with the Memphis Grizzlies because of how good they are and how young they are. And their oldest player that we mentioned earlier is Steven Adams. Could you, off the top of your head, Isaiah, how old is Steven Adams? I know the answer. Do you?
33?
He's 28.
Oh, shit. No.
Yeah, he's 28 years old. Steven Adams is a very young man when it comes to like what you think in the NBA. But speaking of that player, a former team of his who I'm giving the award to would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Frat Party Freshman Award for me goes to them because they are their age is so young, and I mean that in like a respect way too. They're 22.7-year-old average. That average age is younger than me and younger than you, and it's crazy to me that these players are in the NBA and can't drink yet, at least in the United States. Probably in their respective countries, a lot of European dudes on this team probably came to the U.S. and was like, what, I can't have a beer here? No, bro.
I don't know about you, but it's pretty depressing here. That 22 and a half.
No, bro, you could still make the league. Don't worry.
Right.
Yeah, this team is just younger than some college Division I teams, which is just crazy to think. Between Lindy Waters III, Darius Bazley, Alexei Pokusevski, and Josh Giddey, this team has a case to go out and compete in the National Beer Pong World Champions. I'm excited for this team in the future, especially with how good Josh Giddey's looked this year. Pair that with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and whoever they end up getting in this year's draft looks like they might be getting a top 5 pick. If they can add a guy like Chet Holmgren or Paolo Banchero or, all these dudes, they're going to get someone who's going to bring this team to another level when it comes to raw talent. I just hope that it can translate, because this team is definitely very, very good in the future. Not now. They kind of suck now, but it's because they're not playing anyone great, or they're not playing players that are great to complement their good pieces. But yeah, frat party freshman. What you got? You're scratching your beard there.
I mean, like a Bronny future, LeBron
like
James.
a Bronny James?
maybe.
Man, LeBron James coming to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We know he talked to Sam Presti, or talked about Sam Presti.
Laying the groundwork. I gotta be honest. I feel like that could happen. Like when you talk about having a lot of picks, where you could just take a chance. I don't know, man.
You got to think too. They have all these picks. What's stopping them from saying, like, I don't know. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We got a first-round pick. Donovan Mitchell's not happy in Oklahoma or in Utah. Let me throw a bunch of picks at the Jazz and see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not connected at all in the league whatsoever. I know one dude.
Sure.
Where did I hear that? I found it, lying around somewhere. Sorry,
Bob Ballsack Sports.
Yeah, Ballsack Sports over here. I got sources, bro. Trust me. No, but I mean that sincerely though. You never know. Something could happen where a superstar is frustrated, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are like, you want 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks and this young player? We have a lot of them. And then you never know. The Oklahoma City Thunder ends up with a guy like that, and it's game over for the rest of the league in a sense. Speaking of some young dudes, I've got our next award, which I have titled, quote, "He looks a lot like this guy" award. I interpreted that, and because I made the awards, I can interpret them whatever I want. As a guy who just reminds you of another dude in the league. What have you got for this award, Isaiah?
Look, we connect again, okay? We take the best of both worlds on this stream. We got the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat collaborating on this one again. I'm going with RJ Barrett and Jimmy Butler. And let me tell you why. I've been saying this a lot. At first it was like a long-running joke, but let me tell you where this sparked from. I remember last year, maybe 2 years ago, Knicks versus Heat. And I just remember this moment with Jimmy Butler right there on the foul line with RJ Barrett. And you see them talking, like chatting. And he was actually showing, like giving advice to RJ Barrett, and he did. I've seen him do that a few times, and of course, then he gave RJ Barrett the business, So, but he like, and ever since then, and then they kind of could become the same kind of player. Like if I talk about the ceiling for RJ Barrett, could it be like a Jimmy Butler type of guy? Like, I mean, I would love to say he's gonna be the next LeBron James, but let's be realistic, And he's become quite consistent. All he's waiting for is Julius Randle to find his way out of the team. And this team is officially RJ Barrett's with Cam Reddish and Emmanuel quickly. We all of a sudden we have a hungry team again of players that actually want to be there. And who is a hungry player? Who is a guy that wants the responsibility? Like RJ Barrett's always saying, I want to guard that team's best player. Always. Jimmy Butler, RJ Barrett, same mentality. Similar numbers lately. So
yeah, no, and that's of course Jimmy hasn't been playing as good, but it's also RJ's taken a lot more of the offensive role with Julius Randle not playing up to par. I love the pick. Of course, I would just immediately say, and I talked to you about this pre-show when you brought this up, RJ Barrett is already a better shooter than Jimmy Butler ever has been in his career. And that's not a slight at Jimmy. I mean, it kind of is, but it's more of a testament to just how good RJ Barrett's been. I love that play they run for him. Little dribble handoff on the top of the key. They get him to dribble it just about 18, 20 feet, and he takes a little wide open mid-range shot. And I feel like it always goes in. I feel like that shot always goes in for him. I loved watching him play in the couple of games of the Knicks I've caught this season on national television. Seems every time I watch a national TV game, it's Knicks someone. But RJ Barrett, I love that pick for him. And hopefully for your Knicks' sake, he can do what the Bulls did with Derrick Rose in that crew, which was essentially like get their young guy, a bunch of veterans around him so that he can shine as a star. I'm not saying that. So I guess in this case, RJ Barrett would be more in the Derrick Rose role, but that's more so of like a scheme wise, not like player comparison. But I know if the Knicks can actually do that and get him around some guys that are good, and you give RJ Barrett a lot of the offensive responsibility, I don't see why they're not a 40+ win team next year. Yeah,
you're right.
I love that one. I'm gonna go with another guy who and a lot of teams this year have been, or a lot of media members this year have been clamoring about how good he's been. Of course, Ja Morant is someone that gets brought up a lot, but I'm going to give him the award for his comparisons that seem never ending to Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade. There was a couple of months back before Ja Morant, who unfortunately is no longer playing this regular season. He'll be back in the playoffs, but he had a little bit of an injury. He'll be back. I'm not worried about that. The Grizzlies are taking their time. They've got a young superstar right there. They're not going to let him get injured just by trying to play through an injury, 10 games left in the regular season. But for a while there, Ja Morant's numbers were eerily similar to Dwayne Wade's numbers in that 05-06 year when they won the NBA Finals. The Heat, that is. So, yeah, I love Ja Morant. I'm wearing a Dennis Rodman shirt right now, but yesterday I brought up my other basketball shirt collection. I have a Ja Morant shirt. Somebody asked me about it at work. They didn't know who he was, and I called him a casual. So that was fun. Come on, man. You not know who Ja Morant is. Looking at me like I'm crazy. That's Ja Morant, bro. That's top 5, top 3 NBA point guard right now.
You're a basketball fan. Probably last watched it in 2015 or something. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. Who's your favorite team? I love the Warriors. Get out of here. Go home.
Yeah.
Call your mom. And then another award, I just got to give it a little bit of a shout out because I've been watching a couple of Rockets games and I've been loving what I'm seeing from Alperen Sengun. Just as a passing big man, he reminds me, of course, nowhere near as good as the player I'm about to mention, but he has a little bit of Jokic in him where he's just throwing some behind the back passes coming off the bench. You have the same similar situation. I don't know if you remember that Yusuf Nurkic used to be on that Nuggets team and then was promptly traded to the Trailblazers because of how good Jokic was off the bench. Christian Wood, although he is probably the most talented player on that Rockets team, just from a guy who's going to be the most reliable person to give you 25 on any given night on that squad. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two they move him to give some more minutes to Alperen Sengun, who's looking really good. He had a 27-point game against the Lakers or was it the Lakers? I believe it was the Lakers a couple of days ago. So yeah, I'm giving he looks a lot like this guy award to Ja Morant and Alperen Sengun. And speaking of guys who were like, wait, what? Who's that? He looks a lot like this guy. Wait, that is that guy. I'm gonna talk about our next award, which is the wait, he's still in the league award. Someone you saw that you're like, hold up, this guy's still playing. Who do you got, Isaiah? Who's your dude that you were watching games and you're like, is that no, that's not him. Wait, it is.
Maybe not to us because we're like kind of in tune, but I think a lot of like casual players, like if they were following the league a couple of years ago, Isaiah Thomas, man, you got to give it to him. Like he's fought and crawled his way into the league. Like he's been into the G League, dropping 50 and I think he dropped 80 in some place, who knows where.
Yeah, he did that. Those I don't remember what it was called, but you're right. Yeah, the Pro-Am League or whatever.
You talk about grit, okay? Like this guy, like he was written off. We talked about Carmelo Anthony being written off. This guy was really written off, and it's still barely on. And now he's found a place. I mean, there's only a few games left, but for the rest of the season with the Charlotte Hornets, and it's kind of like you mentioned with Boogie earlier, like the numbers aren't off the charts or anything like that, but you see his play style when he's on the court, when spelling for LaMelo Anthony, he still has something to bring. He's never going to reach the heights like he did. Well, let me not say never, because you just never know what's going to happen. But of the Boston Celtics days, definitely not nothing like that. But he has the potential to still be somebody off the bench. He has the heart, and that matters. You have to have the heart if you're going to play long. Isaiah Thomas, and also because I suffered a torn hip, maybe. I don't know. I just bad workout day. And I think he had the hip issues. So, and we both have the same name. So, shout out Isaiah Thomas.
Shout out Isaiah Thomas. He's been kind of fun to watch this year. Just on, you look down at your phone and you're like, he did what in the G League? And then all of a sudden he's on the Hornets. And a couple days ago, he blocked Kyrie Irving on a fadeaway jumper. He's 5'9", blocking one of the greatest post small guys in the league. That's pretty impressive.
They traded you. They traded me for you.
Yeah, essentially. I forgot. They were both involved in that Cavs Celtics trade for Kyrie in was that 2017, 2018, something around there. Yeah,
maybe 18. I remember 2K18 NBA. I think they had to change Kyrie's the cover art. Mm-hmm. I think it was 2018. Yeah. So.
All right. So I've got for this award someone who I have loved watching as a kid. Grew up watching him play for the Hawks, the Nets, and for a while there, he was on the Rockets in 2018, got waived, got cut, and it looked like his basketball career was over. He was on the national team for a while and actually played he played in the FIBA AmeriCup qualification round. He scored 11 points against the Bahamas. Like, he was actually playing for the USA Euro, all the professional basketball tournament they've got there. I'm going with Joe Johnson, who played one game this entire NBA season for the Boston Celtics. He was subbed in with 1:37 seconds left, and he scored an ISO mid-range pull-up, and he drilled it.
ISO Joe.
ISO Joe, living up to his name. I brought him up earlier in the podcast, but my buddy Nick used to destroy me in 2K11 with the Atlanta Hawks with Josh Smith and Joe Johnson. He kind of gives me a little bit of PTSD as a Heat fan, watching him against those 2011 through 2014 Heat teams when he was on the Nets, just dropping everybody with those little moves that he's got, that tiny little dribble that he puts between his legs and then can rise up, knocking Paul Pierce down on his knees. I just got a question for you, Isaiah. What number did Joe Johnson wear this year for the Celtics?
Oh,
it's a good little trivia question. I don't expect you to get it because I didn't know this before I wrote it down.
Let me just throw a number out there because I'll be honest, I don't even quite remember his number when he actually played. So let me throw in there 28.
Oh, it was 55, but you were.
I was like one number off.
Yeah, come on. Carry the 2. It's all good. You were close.
Okay.
Yeah, no. 50. Yeah, you were 55 this year, which is just nothing important. I just thought I would throw a little trivia at you. But yeah, Joe Johnson. That's who I'm giving it to. He's still in the league award too. All right, next award, we've got the More Millions Than Makes award. Someone who has made more millions than they've made shots. What have you got, Isaiah?
So I hate to do it to him, but this is not even piling it on. This is not piling it on. This is what he's always struggled with. It's Russell Westbrook. Okay. This dude is, I guess statistically, if you had to add it up, of course he has more over but let's be honest, he's never been a good shooter. He's always been 20%, 30% at the max. I mean, he's not as bad. I mean, actually, a great pick would have been Ben Simmons, by the way. I might even just mid-take just change it to Ben Simmons. That just came to mind. Yeah, mid-take. Okay, Russell Westbrook, you're not off the hook. Ben Simmons, you don't even have so Ben Simmons, undisputed. Do I really have to say anything? I mean, I hope he gets better. I think they said something about a hernia in his back, so, I'll lay off him a little bit because, hernia sucks, man. That's pain right there, so. So I hope he gets better, but all season, it's tough, man. It's tough. But Ben Simmons, yeah, that's my pick.
All right, that's a great one. I
went up there like I was Kanye, said, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, I'm gonna let you finish, but Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons hasn't made a single shot all his career. I've got, I think, a pretty obvious one. He was involved in trade talks during the trade deadline. We had mentioned him on our podcast a couple of months ago. I got to give it to John Wall, and it's not even his fault, really. John Wall has expressed how much he's wanted to play for the Rockets before he was benched. the last game he played was April 23rd, 2020. So is that even correct? That doesn't sound correct to me. I wrote it down, but whatever. He last played April 23rd, 2020. Whatever. I'm going to run with it. He's due $44 million this year, which is crazy to think that a guy who hasn't even played a single, like, I almost said snap, a single minute of NBA basketball is going to get paid $44 million. But then again, you did just mention Ben Simmons, $47 million next year. And like I said earlier, it's not his fault. The Rockets don't even want him to play. They told him not to play so that they could give minutes to their young guys. And they're just letting him sit. I get that he has a big contract. I get that they don't want to eat the money because of whatever reason. And he might bring a veteran presence to that locker room if he's even traveling with the team. I don't know if he is, because we don't talk about him anymore. We don't see him. John Wall, when he was in his prime, was a top point guard in this league. And now he's sitting, rotting away in Houston. So I just feel bad for John Wall. But he does have to take my award for more millions than makes. And I think to round off these awards here. Sorry?
Quickly, I was just curious myself. John Wall last game was actually April 23rd, 2021. But yeah.
Okay, I was a year up. I read that and I went, that makes no sense. They didn't play basketball in April in 2020. Okay. I was like, as I read that, I was like, man, no, I'm wrong. That was a wrong one. Okay, but almost a year. I was a year off. An important year, but a year off. All right, so to round out these awards, we've got, and I love this one just as a thought exercise.
Yes.
I have this as the last shot award. And the way that I took this was, the last shot for me is a guy who we might be thinking about him on his way out of the league if something doesn't go right for them. And I'm giving this guy a lot of respect because he's done a really incredible job of taking away the hate and the expectations that he had because he got drafted to a really crappy team and taking them to another crappy team and actually doing something with them. And I'm giving this to Marvin Bagley III, a guy who was drafted right before Luka Doncic, and he's going to live with that for the rest of his career. And it sucks for him that those expectations were put on him, but it's true. You're the number 2 overall pick. This is something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your career. But once he got traded from the Kings to Detroit, Marvin Bagley has been killing it. Last 2 games he had 27 points on 11 of 14 shooting against your Knicks, which, you know,
whatever.
He had 25 on 10 of 16 shooting against Washington. And for the year with Detroit, he's shooting 55% from the floor. Now, that's with included kind of a bad percentage from 3. But for Marvin Bagley, the fact that his shooting percentage from 3 is so low, but he's shooting 55% from the floor, this is it. This is what we needed from you. Yeah. This is a guy who we're going to look back at and always think of him as what could he have been. And if he can prove to us in Detroit that he is at least a solid NBA player, there are people he wasn't even getting playing time in Sacramento. There were people that are rooting for the Kings that were like, we wasted that pick, trade him. We don't want him anymore. We're not even going to play him. Coaches didn't like him. His dad was talking on Twitter about like his playing time. It was a whole mess. And the fact that he's been able to go to Detroit and actually put up some good numbers. I believe he's averaging 16 points a game for Detroit, which although they're not winning many games, it's still nice to see a guy like Marvin Bagley III kind of just prove to us like, hey, I might not have been worth the 2nd overall pick, but I'm not this guy that you're just going to take out of the league so quickly. I'm going to prove it to you guys. I'm going to prove it to myself. I'm going to prove it to whatever city decides to take a risk on me or take a chance on me, because at this point, I have nothing else to lose. And so that's why I think Marvin Bagley deserves the last shot award. This is his last shot, and I love what he's been doing so far. What about you? What you got?
That was beautiful. Let me just tell you. That was such a very heartfelt, and it's true, because a lot of guys are written off. They want instant gratification. I think we all want that. But sometimes things take a while,
It's like rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. You can't, Peyton Manning went 3-13 his first year. It's like point guards in the NBA. You got to give him a year to figure it out. Chauncey Billups didn't make an all-star team until his 9th, 10th, 11th season. You know?
Yeah. Mike Conley, first all-star game.
Perfect example. Mike Conley. So, you know, Kyle Lowry was on 4 teams before he was able to make a name for himself. Like, give these guys some time. Don't be throwing them away so quickly.
Exactly. Now, then you have the other side of the coin. You have guys that they kind of have everything they want, but they want more. Well, no, everything. I don't know. You get the point. Okay. Yeah. So like you said, these awards were left open for interpretation, and I took it as a guy like, so what? Are you who we think you are? Like, you know, we know the rule change. You haven't quite looked as human, and I mentioned I had something else for James Harden earlier on, and this is as something else. You know, we know you're great. You're going to go down as one of the best scorers of all time, but just how great are you? Are you a top 50 player? Are you a top 30, 25 player? Like, where are you?
Yeah.
Or are you, you know, are you underrated or are you overrated? Like, which one is it? And to be honest, we're not sure. But what we are sure of, there's been too many big moments where James Harden has come up short. And look, big moments doesn't just mean playoff games. Like, he could have a good playoff series, but those last moments, those huge games where everybody's like really depending on you to go out and put a show on, and you just don't do it. And you see it with the 76ers. And when did that start? Like, the struggles when you faced the Brooklyn Nets, like when the pressure was on, he put up, what was it, like 11 points or 10 points, something along those lines. So this is James Harden's chance. Maybe not this season. Look, I'll give him to the end of next season. You got to win a ring. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or at least get this close. You not be the reason that they're losing. Or give me like, you know, LeBron James is putting up monstrous numbers and nobody's blaming him for, well, people are, but, you know, realistically, how much blame can you give him for the Lakers' struggles? James Harden, you better not be the reason that the 76ers don't win a ring. Let me just say that. Because then in that case, you have been overhyped. You made a career off of, you know, being a flopper and those free throws that you made. And I don't know how much credit you deserve at that point.
If James, and I believe we mentioned this when me and Devin did our trade deadline podcast, when we were talking about James Harden and the 76ers team, where we expressed and shared your, I guess, leash when it comes to him being a good player, which is we'll give you until next year. I understand it's hard to come in the trade deadline and then become a champion that season, especially with a guy who you've never played with before, even a player like him. James Harden's never played with a guy like Joel Embiid in his career. He's played with better players. He's played with Kevin Durant. He's played with these, but he's never played with a dominant big like Joel Embiid. And I love the pick from you just in the sense of, and you even said it, is this guy going to be a top 50 guy or a top 25 guy?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to compare him with the likes of the top 5 shooting guards of all time? Is he going to crack that? Iverson, Kobe, D. Wade, Michael Jordan, Jerry West, these guys who we look at as like, these are the top 5 shooting guards of all time. Whether you want to put Michael Jordan's one, of course, but whether you want to put D. Wade, Iverson, or Jerry West, if you want to flip those around, whatever, James Harden has a case to be in there. He has a case to be in that list of top 5, top 6, top 7 shooting guards of all time. But if he cannot win a ring, he's going to go down in the same history column as Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, Russell Westbrook.
Well, Westbrook's perfect. That's a good comparison. But like, even lesser to an extent, because there's times where like they could have at least gotten to the finals and he came up short. It's not like he played his heart out and they just lost. There's times where he hasn't played his heart out. He played with his heart out somewhere else. That it wasn't. He's over. Yeah, wait. It's the I believe Bill Simmons' podcast had a thing, and I consume a lot of Ringer content, so I might bring that up a little bit too much. But there's James Worthy was always called Big Game James. He always showed up when it mattered, and there was a podcast titled a couple of months ago, which was Small Game James, and how James Harden kind of just ducks out of the spotlight. And even you can look at some playoff series and think to him like,
oh, this guy averaged 28, 7, and 9 in the playoffs. And it's like, yeah, but they got swept or they lost 4-1. Or, oh, he put up these monster numbers in game 5. And it's like, yeah, but they lost by 15 points. So what does it freaking matter? Like,
yeah,
you as a basketball player, James Harden. And if you're listening to this, which I know you listen to this podcast, because why wouldn't you?
Everybody does.
Deep Takes from 3, the Athlete's Hub. Obama listens to this podcast, bro. I mean, I'm all about it. Yeah, we're over here. We're topical. We're in the news. James Harden, if you're listening, you got something to prove. And I could have said that to you the last 3 years and it would have been the same thing. But I believe this is your last shot. And Isaiah, I think that was a perfect way for you, perfect person for you to give that award to. And I think it's a perfect way for us to end this podcast. Yes. Thank you all for tuning in for an hour to listen to me and Isaiah give off our NBA Joke Awards. I believe I'm going to come up with a better name than just Joke Awards. I was going to call them the Leadies, the Athletes, the Athletes Hubbies, but that sounds terrible. We need a better name than that.
This is going to be an annual thing. Let me just tell you. I think you got to do that. Yes,
I'm so down. And we'll come up with new awards every year. Switch it up. We'll bring up some stuff that we might have talked about earlier if we were wrong on some things. How about next year? If Marvin Bagley and James Harden can prove us wrong, we'll bring it up again. We'll give them their props. The last shot, they made it.
Listen,
we can have that.
If James Harden wins a ring in the next 2 years, I'll buy a jersey. And I'll wear it on, and he'll see it.
Okay. I'm going to need you to grow the beard out too. I need you to get the whole effect.
I'll do that. I don't think I'm capable. I'll try my best.
I believe in you, buddy. All right. We're going to wrap up here. My name's Gary. That's Isaiah. You've watched Deep Takes from 3. Check us out at Athletes Hub on Twitter. Check out theathleteshub.org. We are Deep Takes from 3. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Devil returns soon, I promise. And what you got here?
I just want to shout out. I want there's a group, FSC Breaks on Facebook. I threw $6 at it. I want an autographed mini hoodie. Kadarius Toney.
Ooh. That's cool. Oh, he went to Florida.
I never knew who he was. I'll be honest with you, but
he's a wide receiver.
Yeah. I just don't
no. Oh, trust me, bro. People watch this podcast. I'm coming at you from Gainesville, Florida. We got. I'll bring a Trey Man jersey on here every once in a while too. I got a buddy of mine who comes to the bar every now and then with a Trey Man jersey, and I always give him props. I'm like, no one owns that jersey but you, brother. I don't think anybody's rocking an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey over here. All right. See you guys later. Peace out. Thank you for watching. Oh, I'm by myself.
Just kidding.
Oh, cool. It was super.